Hi, my name is Dane Christensen, and I'm a documentary filmmaker based in Salt Lake City, Utah. My work is shown on HBO, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, to name a few. And I've used a lot of different camera systems, from Red to ARRI to handheld rigs, and everything in between. And while I've used all these different camera systems, I want to tell you why the Ronin 4D is my camera system of choice. Let's get started. First off, I have to admit, I was really excited when the Ronin 4D was announced, because this to me is the camera system that can span the needs of a solo content creator all the way to a big team on a feature film in Hollywood and everyone else in between. It's truly revolutionary in that way. This is why I'm excited for the Ronin 4D, because it's changing how I make films. So this video is both my take on the Ronin 4D, a review, but also what I would like to have known before purchasing it. The first point I want to cover is you need to look at the Ronin 4D not just as a camera, but as an entire camera system. It's a camera. It has amazing autofocus, built-in wireless video transmission. It has modular expansion and incredible ease of use, to name a few. That's a list that should be the standard for any camera purchase decision nowadays. I've used nearly every Ronin gimbal that's existed. For a time, I was even using my Inspire 2 drone with a handheld rig on the top and bottom, because the Inspire 2 has a great camera, wireless video transmission, and with the right accessories, it makes it for a great gimbal when it's not flying. And I used it on several commercials, and it worked great, despite a few weird quirks here and there, because, well, you are using a drone for handheld camera work. But now with the Ronin 4D, I don't have to cobble together my own custom rig to make it work for me. Literally out of the box, this camera rig works phenomenally. It's not just good at what it does in every one of those points: autofocus, video transmission, camera quality, modular expansion, and ease of use. It excels in every single one of those points right from the get-go. That's really impressive, and that's really hard to get nowadays when you're buying a camera body or a camera system, because it requires often some other parts and accessories to really make it work. And that brings me to my second point about the Ronin 4D camera system. It is high value for what you get. Let's put it together for a sec. The Ronin 4D body is just about $7,000. That comes with one battery and no lenses. So you'll probably need to get at least one lens, maybe two or three, add a couple more batteries, and at least one media card to get a working rig. That's going to put you around $10,000 roughly. Compared to a different camera system, let's say you buy the body of another camera brand, you have to buy a lens or two, you have to buy a bunch of other batteries, because the batteries are going to be smaller on other cameras, and you'll need a bunch of them, more than two at least. Then you have to consider, okay, do you want an external monitor, and if so, which one? Batteries for that, of course, the cables. Do you need wireless video transmission? Are you going to put all this on a gimbal? And if so, then you'll need all the different accessories and parts to make that work really well. You'll obviously need a bunch of different cases to house it all. So with a different camera package, when all is said and done, all the different pieces and parts to make that work the way that you need it to, I think you're approximating the price tag of a working package of the Ronin 4D. So when you compare those two, I think that this is really high value, because not only do you have all those pieces and parts, a camera, a gimbal, autofocus, wireless video transmission, expandability, and ease of use, that's all built into the Ronin 4D and out of the box. Every piece and part has been designed and engineered together to just work flawlessly, and this is where the high value comes in. You're going to be able to go on set when you're doing your craft you focus on your framing, on your story, on what you're trying to capture, and not on the pieces and parts and the tools that are working or not working at any given moment. That is worth the value of the Ronin 4D. The third point I want to cover is probably the most important one for me. As a documentary filmmaker, I need my camera to be part of my process. It can't disrupt my craft. This is why I've used a gimbal for so many years. I often use a gimbal not just for smooth action shots, but actually just as a simple handheld rig. With a gimbal, I'm able to keep a steady shot on my subject and still be able to look around and survey the scene and know where my next angle will be and move to that next angle without any interruption. This is why I use a gimbal in almost all of my documentary film work. So when looking at the Ronin 4D, it's not just a gimbal. That's just one aspect of the entire camera system, of course, because it's a system that works both for big sets and solo filming. And that hasn't always been the case with other camera systems. You'd either have to choose a big rig or a small rig and compromise on features and usability. For my film work, I like to travel light but still pack high production value. And with the Ronin 4D, I've been able to consolidate my camera rig unlike any way before. With the Ronin 4D, for example, I can travel with lighter tripod legs because I don't need a tripod head. I just put the Ronin 4D on tripod legs and use its gimbal as a tripod head. It works really well, actually. I also don't need to bring separate batteries for all the different components to power the video monitor, the wireless transmission, the focus motors, the gimbals, and of course the camera. With the Ronin 4D, that's all consolidated into a single battery, and I love it. With one battery, it powers everything, it's seamless, it's easy, and I just grab a couple of those batteries and I'm set for a day. And this means that the Ronin 4D is set up immediately and is ready to use when I need it. And that's a crucial part of my filmmaking process. I don't want to wrestle with my camera rig, I need it to work with me, and I need it when I need it. In the past, I've often not gotten certain shots because I knew that either I had to build my entire camera rig or take off a lens and readjust everything, and so sometimes it just wasn't worth getting the shot and going through all that effort. With the Ronin 4D, that's gone. It's simple to change out lenses, it's simple to set it up, it's ready to go whenever. And I've noticed with the Ronin 4D that I'm in a better creative space because, well, I'm not fighting with my camera rig. It's always available and ready. The next point I want to cover is the video transmission on the Ronin 4D. It is, simply put, phenomenal. Objectively phenomenal. And if I were to recommend a single accessory for the Ronin 4D, it's, well, technically two things. The video transmitter that goes on the camera body and the remote high bright monitor. This video transmission system has actually really revolutionized how I work with my camera and how I work on set, how I work with my subjects, and how I work in a variety of different locations. Why I'm so adamant about recommending this accessory is because it's not just for big sets. While that is super useful to have video transmission, it's also great for when you're just working solo, or especially when you're doing an interview, or when you're out in a precarious situation and you just want some more flexibility. I've noticed that I'm constantly switching the handle grips from the Ronin 4D to the remote monitor and back again, depending on what I'm filming. When I'm filming an interview, oftentimes I'll stand in myself or have my subject stand in while I frame up and adjust my camera settings. However, without video transmission, I'm often walking back and forth behind the camera, looking at it, coming back to the front of the camera, seeing how it looks, going back and forth, and it gets kind of cumbersome and it takes a lot of time. With the remote monitor, I can just be in frame and adjust everything, pull focus, and save a ton of time on set. And an extra plus is it makes me look more professional when working with my subject and my clients because things work smoother, it works well, and honestly they get really impressed that you're able to even do this and control every aspect of your camera and even move it around from a remote control. It's really rad, actually. I've had several situations where I have to set up the Ronin 4D at a specific angle to film a speaker or to film an event or something like that. And one time I was in direct sunlight, and if I had to stand behind the camera and man it, I would have gotten sunburned. It would have been very uncomfortable for standing there for hours in direct sunlight. So what I did instead is pulled off the handle grips, put them on the remote monitor, and then went into the shade and controlled the camera from there. It was beautiful. And a lot of times with my documentary work, I'm the single camera person and I'm working with a director or a client, and so I'll bring my remote monitor with me no matter where I go, because I never know how I use it, but I'm pretty sure I will use it. And most often, I just hand the client or the director the remote monitor and say, here, so you can see what I'm filming as I'm running around. And what's rad is the distance on the video transmission is crazy, just straight up crazy. So they can sit wherever they need to sit, wherever they're comfortable, and I can be really far away getting the shots, and they're seeing what I'm doing and they can see what they're getting. And then we can work more closely together about, okay, this was working, this was not working. Oh, let's make sure to get this shot and we need it from this angle, and so on. Another situation where I like to use the remote monitor is if I'm getting a specialty shot, perhaps it's up close, it's macro, it's low to the ground, maybe even high up, but I don't want to actually be physically holding the camera while doing it. So I can mount the camera in a funky way and then take off the handle grips, put them on the remote monitor, and control my camera movement perfectly. I was on a commercial set and we were getting some gimbal shots with the Ronin 4D, and then we needed to do some car follows. So we put this on a crane that was mounted on the hood of a car. We put the Ronin 4D right on there. It was really easy to mount, and then the director of photography and me got into that car and we were following our picture car. And it was so smooth to get the shots that both the director and the DP were wanting to get. We could reset, we could move the camera, we could change camera settings and exposure right there on the fly. And think about how this would have looked like, well, before the Ronin 4D. You would have mounted a camera there, put on video transmission, perhaps you would have had a gimbal on there, but those are all different parts that need to work together in some way. And so to control all those aspects from inside the car without having to stop, get out, reset, change some parameters on the camera, maybe even change the aperture, for example, you would have to stop the car to do that. With the Ronin 4D, you don't. We could just change any camera setting, pull focus, do any kind of nifty camera movements, even change the speed on the joystick so that I can move the gimbal faster or slower. And it allowed us to get the shot exactly how we wanted it, super fast. So this is why I think that the remote monitor is a crucial accessory for the Ronin 4D. It really just allows you to do your best work faster. The last point I want to cover about the Ronin 4D is, well, something that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but I think is significant. We've all found ourselves in situations where we're handing a camera off to someone else to get the shot, either maybe because we need to be in front of the camera or they're at positions in a way that they have a better angle and you need to go cover a different angle of the event, whatever the case may be. With the Ronin 4D, I've had a variety of situations like that where I set up the camera the way I need it to and then I hand it to someone else. Oftentimes they're not even filmmakers and are not familiar with cinema camera systems. I hand them the Ronin 4D and say, here, keep this subject in frame, and they do it effortlessly. And I think that says volumes about the potential and the design of the Ronin 4D. It's a sophisticated camera system with tons of detail and abilities and features, yet it's simple enough and intuitive enough for virtually anyone to use it. And I think being able to have anyone use the Ronin 4D offers a lot of flexibility in our creative craft. So that's my review of the Ronin 4D and why it's my camera system of choice. Make sure to check out the other two videos in the series. One about the menu systems and how to use the settings to get the most out of your Ronin 4D. And another video about the lens compatibility, where we test a variety of different lenses that are not on DJI's official compatibility list, so you can see which lenses you already have that can work on the Ronin 4D.